If you're a Houston Texans fan, I'm so sorry that Bill O'Brien had to ruin such a good thing with your team. I'm so sorry that your team has never made it to the AFC Championship. I'm so sorry to see your franchise quarterback getting wasted and now wanting out, as he should. And I'm also so sorry that your 3-time Defensive Player of the Year just got released. And I know he hasn't been the same player these last few years, but I'm sure you guys are going to miss him nonetheless, right? Because of all the great things he did when he was in his prime before he became injury riddled. So anyways, it's Nick if you're new here, and if you are new here, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. So, I'm here to talk about JJ Watt. It took me a while to get my thoughts out because I just got the news at around midnight when I was getting ready to go to bed. Also, when the earthquake happened, and as you can see, I'm okay. I appreciate those who reached out to me though. But yeah, as you can see, I'm doing just fine. So obviously I couldn't just come up with my thoughts right on the spot and make a video as soon as I got the news at midnight, right? Especially when an earthquake is happening, and while no, I was not scared that I was gonna die, it felt like that earthquake was never gonna end while it was happening. It was a pretty huge one. But now here we are to talk about JJ Watt. If you're not new here, yeah, I'm sorry I took a hiatus, but I'm back now, and tomorrow we'll talk about baseball, and then after that I'll try to come up with some basketball stuff to talk about. But for now we're here to talk about football. This is my first off-season NFL video. Now you might be thinking, why did the Texans try to trade him? Because they could use as many draft picks as possible right now, because they have like no draft picks right now. Although actually JJ Watt and the Houston Texans mutually parted ways. And I think that that's very nice of the Texans to let JJ Watt have his way. They're not going to trade him to a team that he doesn't want to play for. And in fact, here's what JJ Watt had to say himself.
I wanted to do this on video as opposed to putting out a statement or doing a press conference or anything like that, because I want you guys to hear it directly from me. I want to speak directly to you and the city of Houston so you can hear the words straight from my mouth. I have sat down with the McNair family, and I have asked them for my release, and we have mutually agreed to part ways at this time. I came here 10 years ago as a kid from Wisconsin who'd never really been to Texas before. And now I can't imagine my life without Texas in it. The way that you guys have treated me, besides draft night, I mean, you guys booed me on draft night, but every day after that, you treated me like family. And I truly feel like you're my family. Since that day, I have tried to do everything in my power to work and earn your respect and try and make you proud on and off the field. You guys have given me everything and more, and I can only hope that you feel like I've given you everything I have. The city of Houston's been unbelievable to me. It's where I met my wife. It's where I've met lifelong friends and my teammates. I've had incredible coaches and training staff and equipment staff and cafeteria workers and the weight room staff and the front office people and people on the streets, people in restaurants and grocery stores and showing up at my house. The connection is special, and I will never ever take that for granted because I know how rare it is. I'm excited and looking forward to a new opportunity, and I've been working extremely hard, but at the same time it is always tough to move on. And I just want you guys to know that I love you. I appreciate you. I appreciate the McNair family for giving me, drafting me and giving me my first opportunity in the NFL. Thank you, Houston. I love you.
And sometimes doing a franchise player dirty is what's actually better for your team. In basketball, the Toronto Raptors trading DeMar DeRozan without giving him any warning that they're going to trade him for Kawhi Leonard, it resulted in a championship. Or when the Celtics traded Isaiah Thomas before he was able to get that extension, knowing his hip injury was worse than almost everyone realized, and they got Kyrie Irving, and yeah, he only stayed 2 years, and he was injured for the playoffs in his first year and then quit on the team in his second year, but nonetheless, that's still better than giving Isaiah Thomas all that money to no longer be the same player he once was, right? I don't know any examples off the top of my head in football for doing a player dirty and that actually happening to be the best thing for your team, but I'd still say though that it's a nice gesture by the Texans to mutually part ways with JJ Watt and let him have his way. You can let me know what you think of it, but just my opinion is it was a nice gesture, even though you can make the argument that they should have tried to trade him for as many draft picks as they could possibly get back for him. So about JJ Watt's career in Houston, he was a 5-time Pro Bowler and 5-time All-Pro, and he even caught 3 touchdown passes in 2014, and he also returned a touchdown on defense in 2014, and he threatened Michael Strahan's single-season sack record, but Strahan's record is still safe. You see that right there? It's my favorite player of all time. And he is also a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. In these very few seasons, he only had like 5 years of his prime. Well, that's how many Pro Bowls and All-Pro teams he's made, so I'll just say he had 5 years of his prime before he became injury-riddled, but to me, that's definitely enough to say that he is a Hall of Famer. And now his time in Houston is over, so where does he go next? Here's a few teams in mind. I personally think that he'd like to play for a contender, although we'll see. I mean, I'm not JJ Watt, so I don't know what goes on in his mind, but just some teams that could potentially land him. First, there's the Pittsburgh Steelers, where his brothers Derek and TJ are playing. Although the Steelers do have a cap problem, so if they can figure out a way to free up that cap space and get him, now of course you're not going to sign him to a multi-million-dollar deal or anything, but he's definitely worth something. So if the Steelers can get him, we know they were frauds last year, but I see them as a potential option, mostly because of the fact that his brothers are there. Then there's also the New York Giants. You know that's my team. And I'd say that would be nice to get an edge rusher, because that is something that the Giants need. And if Leonard Williams doesn't re-sign, and I have a feeling he won't, I personally hope he does, because not only was he great for my team, also he's a USC Trojan, and that's my college team, so to have a USC Trojan have such a great year for the New York Giants like Leonard Williams did, that's like a dream come true for me. But if he doesn't resign, then I just wish him well wherever he goes. And he's definitely not going to be worth $20 million a year. You know, he's an interior lineman. Unless you're Aaron Donald, you don't want to pay an interior defensive lineman $20 million or something like that. Now, we know that the Giants have receiver problems, and I fully expect them to cut Golden Tate, and I also expect them to cut Nate Solder to free up cap space. And there's probably others that they're going to look to cut. Perhaps Evan Engram too. How did he make the Pro Bowl? But I think that if they get JJ Watt, now I'm not going to get my hopes up and think that they're going to contend for the Super Bowl. I know that the Giants have some years away from being at that level again. But I do think that JJ Watt would be a nice addition at the right price, because we know he's not the superstar he used to be. So I don't think that he's gonna come to the Giants. I'll look at it as a possibility, but I'm gonna guess no, he does not go to the Giants. And the next team that I'll talk about, the Indianapolis Colts. They have the second most cap space in the NFL, and they need a pass rusher, so JJ Watt would be someone that they should definitely look into getting. Sorry, Texans fans, if I left a bad taste in your mouth by mentioning him going to a division rival. Or could he go to the Green Bay Packers, the team that he grew up rooting for? He's from Wisconsin. And also, he and Aaron Rodgers already have a very good relationship. The Packers already have Zadarius Smith. He had 12.5 sacks last season. And the Packers were 11th in sacks, but also 29th in quarterback knockdowns and 26th in pressures. I think that JJ Watt would help them more than he would hurt them. But, you know, if he can stay healthy and if he's brought in at the right price. But their salary cap is the problem. So they're going to need to free up some cap space right now. And a good start would be cutting Preston Smith. But even then, I don't know if they'll definitely land him or not. In fact, my prediction is no, they won't. But I'll get to that later. There's also the Cleveland Browns. They have cap space, and they already have a really good defensive line with Myles Garrett. They won't have Olivier Vernon for much of the upcoming season, if at all, though, because he tore his Achilles. In fact, he probably will miss all of next season. I'm not sure how much time he'll miss, but he's definitely not playing a whole lot next season. So JJ Watt would be a nice way to fill in that voided defensive end. The Buffalo Bills really do make sense if they free up cap space. Again, not that anyone should overpay JJ Watt for the reasons we've already talked about, injury riddled and not what he used to be. But if they get enough cap space, and I'm not sure what they'll do, if you're a Bills fan watching this, you can let me know in the comments what they could do to free up cap space. But I think that JJ Watt really should be able to help the Bills defense. The next team, the Tennessee Titans. They have a great offense, but their defense is not good at all. And I think that JJ Watt should be able to help them out. And they don't have a great cap situation, but it's not the worst. But if they can get him really cheap, like dirt cheap, that would be big for them. I mean, I think that the Tennessee Titans are in contention to get him, but still not exactly the team I have in mind for where he's going to go. LA Rams would be nice too. I already have Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers on that defensive line, and Jalen Ramsey in the secondary. We know their defense is what got them to the playoffs last season, but their problem is their really bad cap situation. Even though they traded Jared Goff for Matt Stafford to free up cap space, they still have a lot more cap space to free up. So, the moment you've probably been waiting for. Where do I think JJ Watt will go? If the Steelers free up the cap space, I think that's where he's going because he gets to play with his brothers, and they had one of the best defenses in the NFL last season. Well, yes, the Steelers were frauds last season, but their defense was elite for most of the year. Obviously not in that playoff game, though, because the Browns scored 48 points. Well, one of those touchdowns was on defense, though, but Baker Mayfield threw for 3 touchdowns on them, and Kareem Hunt ran for 2, so obviously their defense fell apart, but I still think that the Pittsburgh Steelers, just from the fact that they have both of his brothers on that team, that makes the Steelers a good possibility for where he goes next. I think, though, that the team that has the best chance of landing him is the Indianapolis Colts because of their need for pass rushing and their cap situation. If you're a Texans fan, I'm sorry if I just made you feel sick from saying that, but if I were a Texans fan, me personally, I'd wish him well no matter where he goes. But you guys let me know what you think. Where do you think JJ Watt is going to go next? That's the end of this video. If you still haven't subscribed yet, please remember to do so. Please remember to like and hit the notification bell as well. And I will see you next time.